Welcome to Enchanted Astrology with Ariel Smith. Thank you for joining me here today as we go over the upcoming astrology from May 27th until June 2nd. Now this week I will be covering the Sagittarius Full Moon that will be exact at 2:45 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on May 31st at 9 degrees 55 seconds of Sagittarius, and Mercury entering into Cancer on June 1st. So to begin this week, I would like to talk about the Gemini-Sagittarius axis. This is the axis of thought. So Gemini, we know, rules thought and the mind. But on a deeper level, Gemini rules the field of simultaneous potentials. Now, I have said this before and will likely say it a lot. We are creative beings. We are creators. We were made by God, the ultimate creator. You are never not creating, and you will never stop creating. Our thoughts are creative. And every thought that we think creates a potential. And multiple thoughts create multiple alternate potentials, alternate possibilities. You can think of Gemini being the seed. Now, in the Northern Hemisphere, we are just coming out of planting season, where we open up a packet of seeds and plant them in the garden, where we then water them and watch them grow. Each seed contains the potential to be physical. There is no seed that does not contain this potential. Okay, they all do. But we need to water and nourish these seeds in order to actualize their potential. And this is why Gemini comes before Cancer in the wheel of the zodiac, because Cancer are those nourishing waters of gestation. So Cancer is an energy that binds, holds, and gives substance to the subtle realm. And if we look at the womb as an example, a woman is born with all her eggs already inside her. And this is very cool to think that 3 generations share one body, because a mother will hold her daughter and her grandchild within her when she is pregnant. But all those eggs inside the womb hold potential. And this is why the 3rd house of Gemini also rules siblings, because siblings are a representation of different potentials. And it is through the waters of Cancer that they are nourished and actualized. Cancer rules emotions, and emotions give water to those seeds. So every thought is creative and creates a subtle thought form. So as soon as you think something, it is created. But it's not necessarily experienced in the physical density because it's not yet actualized. One thought could be maybe insubstantial or brushed off. We never really think of it again. And another thought could create intense excitement and joy, while yet even another thought can create maybe fear and anger, and so on. So the emotions are watering the thoughts. And you don't just water a seed once and, shazam, you have a full-grown plant. No, you need to continually hold water to it over and over for the seed to sprout. If a seed dries up, it doesn't sprout. So obviously, and thank goodness, our thoughts don't immediately actualize while we are still sorting out some of the lower vibrational ones. So Gemini represents the potentials, the seeds created by your mind and your thoughts. Parallel expressions or alternate paths available. And the third house of Gemini also rules your immediate or limited, we could say, range of potentials, which is what is represented by your neighborhood, your immediate surroundings, like your daily commute, etc. So it is what is immediately accessible to us. So these are the perspectives that you are already familiar with. That third house being your familiar environment or familiar range. Now, someone who is trapped in a small worldview can only generate a limited range of potentials. And Sagittarius, which is opposite of Gemini on the wheel, breaks open that ceiling of what the mind believes to be possible. And Sagittarius does this by introducing foreign perspectives, higher principles, symbols, archetypes, experiences, and basically wisdom that increases the seeds available to Gemini. So Sagittarius is saying to Gemini, there are realities beyond the ones you currently know how to think. So Sagittarius is not just simply adding more seeds to Gemini's current thought range. No, Sagittarius is increasing the entire range available to Gemini thought. So this is the axis we are working with this week with that full moon in Sagittarius. Now, full moons are associated with illumination, or essentially showing us the full actualization of our thought form or the seeds that we have planted. So the full moon would be like seeing the tree in full bloom with its fruit so we can identify clearly what it is. So we can see the result in its full form. Full moons represent something coming visible and obvious to us. Full moons are also seen as a time of endings and completions, as there is no more growing into its potential from this point on, right? Because the flowers will die, the fruit will drop, and the tree will lose its leaves in the coming cycle as it has fulfilled its purpose or realized its full potential. So during a full moon, you tend to see energy most plainly and visibly. Now, the energy of Sagittarius is an expansion of possibilities and potentials. It is the energy of broader realities and higher meaning. And this will become highlighted, illuminated, and visible during this full moon. So it is an expansion of consciousness and the horizon of what can be imagined. So we can see more plainly here, we can see the deeper meaning, the higher path, or broader perspective behind our current range of reality. We can see and sense very clearly what is in alignment with our highest journey. We can recognize what is expanding us and what is limiting us. And we can even sense that our current range of potential is still smaller than what we are actually capable of. So this can be experienced through having an expansion in your perspective, thinking beyond what you previously thought was possible, no longer being able to stay in limiting thought loops, and an increased desire for freedom, since Sagittarius is not about being limited in any way. It is an energy that is expansive and liberating. So, out of all the potentials available, Sagittarius also knows what direction it wants to go because it holds the higher purpose in mind and chooses what path will take it to this higher purpose. So, the full moon is a time of expanded thoughts and possibilities, of understanding the outcome our current thoughts and emotions have brought, what type of tree we have been watering, so to speak, and perhaps even glimpsing what is possible beyond our current horizon of potential. And that horizon is ever expanding. Now, this Sagittarius full moon is also in a trine with both Neptune and Saturn in Aries. Neptune in Aries brings our awareness to our higher self as sovereign, creative souls. We are our own ultimate authority. Nothing can actually hold authority over us unless we give it permission to. And so the moon in Sagittarius is expanding the horizon of what we believe is possible, and who we believe ourselves to be supports this expansion, right? Because if we believe we are just literally a random assortment of cells that have been functioning as a limited human species and that's it, not a lot seems to be possible, right? But when we come more and more into a deeper knowing of who we truly are, that this is not, in fact, a random assortment of cells, this entire Earth experience is intelligently designed by our higher selves, and we exist more truly outside of this realm. When we know that, the ceiling or limit of what we believe is possible gets completely blown up. And Saturn in Aries builds through a more trial and error. Saturn likes to have a long-term plan and have things figured out ahead of time. But in Aries, the momentum is happening so fast that there is no plan. Changes are happening rapidly, and the mastery of Saturn is not achieved through slowly building or studying or taking a well-established path. The mastery of Saturn in Aries is achieved through learning as you go and responding in each moment. It's through more personal, direct, and rapid experience. So this is also supporting that expansion, as the more we know about who we are, the more we experience for ourselves, the more we expand into our own self-mastery. And this full moon is also in conjunct Mars in Taurus. And Mars in Taurus likes to move slow and take its time. And that is not the energy that is unfolding here. The energy of this full moon and its supporting planets are very fast moving, rapidly expanding, and figuring it out as we go, which can make Mars deeply uncomfortable in Taurus. He's going to feel pressured to move faster than he prefers. He may feel a little rushed and like he isn't quite ready for what's coming next, but he will eventually adapt. Mars in Taurus also wants to stay committed to one thing for a long time, slowly putting in effort and committing to something. That is Mars in Taurus. But all of this fire and air energy, which a lot of planets are in right now, especially those outer planets, during this full moon, is indicating a much quicker pace and the ability to learn and adapt as we go. And on that note, we also have Uranus at 2 degrees of Gemini, which is in trine with Pluto at 5 degrees of Gemini. And sudden innovations, downloads, and potentials are available here that can deeply transform the way that we think altogether. This is an energy of very sudden breakthroughs and ideas that make lasting permanent changes, where that Mars in Taurus has to adapt to, has to switch gears, adjust, and maybe even start over or move quicker than he feels comfortable with. There could be a sense of, I have committed to this and I've spent a lot of time building this, and now everything has changed and this doesn't work anymore, and I need to adapt and maybe even start over. But Mercury is still in Gemini at 28 degrees during this full moon, so Mercury is well able to mentally adapt and remain flexible. Mercury is able to move quickly and think quickly here, which is very supportive for this full moon. And just be patient with that Mars and Taurus if your drive and the actions feel a little reluctant or slow to get started. And finally, on June 1st, we have Mercury entering into the sign of Cancer. So as we know, Mercury rules Gemini and is the mind and our thoughts. Now Mercury is moving into the gestational waters of Cancer, which will be watering our thoughts and giving density to their subtle form. So in Cancer, Mercury becomes more attuned to the subtle realm, which is our intuition, emotions, energy, basically what is not being said. So now we start bringing density to the subtle thought forms by emotionally imprinting on them. So that's perfect after this Sagittarius full moon, where we become more aware of the quality of our thoughts, how they serve or don't serve us, what they manifest, what beliefs they are based on. And we get to choose the highest quality ones that align with our higher purpose. And this Mercury in Cancer is going to nurture those thoughts, hold them, and birth them into physical density. So because of the Cancer energy, when Mercury is in this sign, we can feel our ideas being shaped by our emotions. We are more aware of how the two go together. We tend to think more emotionally than logically. We can be more sensitive to tone and mood. Our emotional experience overall can just feel more vivid. And we are more connected to the emotional impact of our words. And so we can become more cautious in how we communicate. Mercury in Cancer is also a good time for things like ancestral healing or conversations, doing inner child work and discovery, digging into your emotional belief systems and family conditioning, and just having conversations that are healing and nurturing. This week's Yin Yoga practice is exploring the energy of the Sagittarius full moon and the themes of growth, perspective, and inner truth that may be surfacing during this time. If you would like additional support in connecting with this energy, you can find the practice available on my website at enchantedistrology.ca. And as always, thank you so much for listening in today. I wish you an expansive week ahead, and I will be back next Wednesday with another episode.